So in this lesson, we're going to introduce the demonstrative pronoun. In English, this is the this or that, and in the plural, these or those. And like in English, these can also be adjectives. So they can stand on their own and refer to this man or that man, but they could also be these books or these computers. So we're going to talk about how to decline these demonstrative pronouns and then how to use them. Now, there are two words for this in Greek, and there's one for that or those. And at the end, we'll talk a little bit about the differences between those two thises and also ways to distinguish between this and that. So we'll start with this, Hutos, haute, tuto. Now, there are going to be two things that you need to notice about this, which will help you in declining this. The first thing that you'll notice is that it's a first and second declension adjective. Hutos, tutu, tuto, tuton, on the plural, or in the feminine, haute, tautes, taute, tauteng. So these endings you already know. But what you'll notice is that the stem is strange, right? Let's look at the genitive here. We have tutu or tautes. We have two different stems. How do I know which stem to use? The easy answer is, if the ending is dominated by an O, we're going to use the U vowel. So, hutos, O sound, we get the U. Tutu, O sound, we're going to get the U. Tuto, O sound, we're going to get the U. But if the ending is dominated by the A sound, then we're going to get the OW sound. So, haute, A sound, how. Tautes, A sound, tau. So that's the first lesson. That's the first thing to notice. The second thing to notice, let me erase my scribblings there for a second, is that some of these have a rough breathing, hutos, and some have a tau, tuto. Well, when do we use which? Well, you're going to use the rough breathing where the article has a rough breathing. So if the article is aspirated, then the demonstrative is. So, hutos, because the article will be ho. Tutu, no aspirate, but the tau because the article will be tu. Tuto, tuton, but in the plural, hutoi, because the article was hoi. Tuton, tutois, tutus. And in the feminine, haute, because the article was he, but tautes, because the article was tes. Haute, tautes, taute, tauteng. Hautai, because the article is hai. Tuton, look at that's a weird one. But because the ending is an O sound, we're going to use the U. So tuton, tautes, tautas. And in the neuter, tuto, tutu, tuto, tuto. Tauta, we go to the OW sound because our ending is an A sound. So tauta, but back to the O sound, tuton, tutois, tauta. So it's fairly easy to decline. And using it, you're going to use it just like an adjective, which means this, or these. So, in a couple of examples from Thucydides, ponte de tauta, hustorum ton proton ectisthe. All of these things, ponte de tauta, all these things, notice it's neuter, so we have to add that things, all these things, ectisthe, were established, hustranto Troiton, after the Trojan War, after the Trojan things. So, ponte de tauta, all of these things. Or in the second sentence, hutoi garde tas plestas ton meson ekeson. Hutoi, nominative, it's not modifying anything, so we have to supply some kind of adjective, or some kind of noun, like men, since it's masculine. Hutoi. These men, indeed, inhabited the majority of the islands. So hutoi, these men. That's hutos. Now, that, ekeinos. You'll notice the stem is ekein. And we've already had the adverb eke. It's here, there. Eke, ekeinos, those guys over there. That. Ekeinos, ekene, ekeno. Endings just like autos, aute, auto. And it declines like a first and second declension adjective. First and second, nothing unusual about this. The stem will always be ekein. ekeinos, ekeino, ekeino, ekeinon, ekenoi, ekeinon, ekenois, ekeinus, and the feminine, ekene, ekenes, ekene, ekenein, ekenai, ekeinon, ekenais, ekeinas. That shouldn't be that's just a mistake. And the neuter, ekeno, ekenu, ekeno, ekena, ekena, ekeinon, ekenois, ekena. So the neuters are still going to end in that alpha, just like all neuters do. And we're going to use this just the same way we did hutos, but we translate it as that, or those. So, ego de ekenus men ekeino from Isaias. I praise ekenus, those men. Because it's plural of that. Right? I praise those men. Anastato es ekenoto korion. Let him stand up in that, modifying korion because it's neuter, in that land, in that place. Here it's being used substantively, it's just a pronoun, those men, but here it's an adjective modifying korion. And notice it stands outside, it's in the predicative position. That's very important to notice. Demonstratives show up in the predicative position. Now I said there's one more way to say this, and that's hode, hede, tode. Very nice. If you take a look at these, you have the article, accented of course, the article with a de appended to it. And this is called the deictic. It's a pointing word, right? This here, and that's why I focus on the here, the de is really a pointing word. So this here, hode, hede, tode. Tode. Tude, taste, tude, tode, tede, tode, tonde, tende, tode. So if you know how to form your articles, just add a de onto there, accent the nominatives, hoide, haide, tade, and then you can go ahead and translate. So let's take a look at this. Elega hegene tade, so tade here, being a neuter plural, the woman said these things. Or theusmen monos tuste hilaskunte, they worship, they appease these gods alone. Here Herodotus is talking about the Scythians and the gods that they worship. They worship these gods alone. Tuste modifying theus. Now, what's the difference between hode this and hutos this? Well, let's first take a look at the difference between ekeinos and hutos. Generally it means that and this, but if you have a list preceding it, then this will refer to the latter of the two. Right, so if I say Thucydides and Herodotus were two historians, but Hutos, this guy, suddenly Hutos, this guy, I'm going to be referring actually to Herodotus because he's the one who's closer to the sentence. He's closer to this. But ekeinos, that guy, is going to refer to Thucydides. So we can sometimes translate that as the former. So that's one way to treat ekeinos and hutos. And then in terms of hutos and hode, at least in history, in historiography, in history writing, hutos is going to refer to the thing before, the thing I just said. So this, meaning the thing that's just before, but hode can be translated as the following. So if we go back to our Herodotus sentence in the previous slide, elega hegune tade, this tade indicates, what the woman said was what follows. And what follows is her quote. So that's the difference between hutos and hode, and another way to think about hutos and ekeinos.